Welcome to Hateley Motorsport. Today we're going to talk about some of the rules around the cars themselves. With things the way they are this season, daylighting is going to be a little bit tricky, and it's more than likely going to have to be done before a practice day or before your first race. So in an effort to make the transition into racing a little bit smoother this season, Victorian Wingless Sprints has tasked me into making a couple of videos just covering some of the common things that scrutineers come across. So when you get to the track, you don't get sent home without having a chance to have a skid. So first things first, we're going to start with probably one of the most important things on the daylighting sheet, and that's seat mounting. And when it comes to seat mounting, the most important part of that is going to be your head height. All right, so head height's fairly important. We need to keep our head down lower than the chassis, obviously. The rules state 55 millimeters is the minimum. So to check it, pretty easy to check. Straight edge across the frame rails, tape measure, 40 mil. But he is sitting on a couple of cushions so he can fail that. If he jumps up, stand up again, Ron. So hang on, let me move that. Put that out, as big as possible, sit down. Oh. We check it without the cushions. He's got about 85 mil there, which is more than enough. Not this helmet, but I've actually bought a new helmet once and it had a little plastic scoop on the top of the helmet. And I had to rip it off my brand new helmet to get past because I lost about 20 mil of clearance on the top of the helmet. So just something to note there when you're buying a new helmet. I'll show you the next important thing that you've got to take note of, which is the seatbelt routing. So with your hands device on, your seatbelts need to pass cleanly through the seat at a slight level or at a slight downward angle. Ryan's a little bit shorter than I am. When I'm sitting there, it normally sort of sits up about here. The thing to remember is that the seat belts, the shoulder belts, are to hold you back in the seat, and your lap belts down here are what hold you down in the seat. They also need to pass through the seat without actually rubbing and be attached to the seatbelt bar like I've got here. As long as these buckles don't protrude past the seat, you can do that. Or they need to come over the seat and down to the lower bar down the bottom. They can't be mounted to the bar that the seat mounts to. They need to be mounted to a separate bar. Now that's all pretty easy to do with this seat, this Kirky seat with its massive seatbelt opening. But if you've got a seat like this Ultra Shield with the two separate holes, it may require a little bit more thought just to get it right without coming through. Another thing to note is you need, like this one, you need a rolled edge on them, or some of them have got like a rubber seatbelt, like a rubber grommet around the outside of them. That needs to be fitted as well, so there's no sharp edges. But you may even have to cross them over and hook them to the bar just to keep them apart and keep them lined up in the centres of the holes, which you can do all right, and it may also help with doing that to prevent them from rubbing on the seatbelt bolts. You can't have them also rubbing on the seat mounting bolts, so you may have to, like I said, cross them over to stop that from happening. Okay, the last factor you need to be aware of when mounting your seat is the clearance underneath with the drive line. So to check this is a fairly simple procedure. You just need to remove the torsion stops, which I've undone them already. Pop them off. So if you can jack it up so it hits the seat like this, that's a fail. But if it does hit the seat first, you do have some options to fix it. Like I've done, and I've got plenty of head clearance in this chassis, so I've actually got spaces that go in under the seat and jack it up, which as you can see gives it plenty of clearance, which is a pass. Some of the other options you have there, you can actually get this seat bar, this butt bar lowered down a little bit, which will give you a little bit more clearance. So I've seen some guys with like an extra piece of stop welded across the bottom of the seat. That's just a bit of scrap steel, but you get the idea. So it hits that before it actually hits the seat. There is also, you can also run a 3mm protection plate underneath to protect the bottom of the seat, which also works. There's tether straps, there's a few options there. The other thing to consider is the back of the seat. So if you shear all the bolts off the drive line, which does happen, and the diff rotates, it'll jam the gear case or whatever into the back of the seat, and that's a very bad day. To prevent that, I actually had this bar welded in, protect the back of the seat, and you can actually see it's got a witness mark on there where I had a stack at one point and did exactly that, and it smacked the back of the seat there. Otherwise, if you do need the protection plate underneath, you can bend the protection plate up and attach it to this bar to give you that extra protection at the back of the seat. Or what a lot of other guys will also do is run an old crutch strap, bolt it to the diff, wrapped around that bar, just so you've got enough travel up and down for your suspension, and it prevents the diff from rotating. There is a few different options there, and if you're not quite sure on what you should be doing, my suggestion is to message the Victorian Wingless Sprint Facebook page, or hit me or one of the other committee members up, and if we can't help, we'll be able to put you in contact with someone who will. Because we'd much rather spend some time helping you get your car right than having to send you home for the track, because that's not a good day in anyone's book. So that video's gone a little bit longer than expected, so we'll call that a day. If there's anything else you'd like to know about any of the rules around the cars, leave a comment down below and I'll try and include it in a future video. Otherwise, I'll have another video out like this in another few days on the next section of the daylighting sheet. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. So until then, see you next time.